Welcome to Pocket Watch Podcast. I'm Zach,
Cruz,
Jake, and we're fucking Pocket Watch Podcast.
Yes, sir. Laugh at us or learn with us. We're here to grow.
And growing, we're fucking doing, man. Welcome to Pocket Watch Podcast. I'm Zach,
Cruz,
and I'm Brody.
Hey.
Thank you guys for having me. That intro music got me hyped.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Shout out John Lorenzo Music, Instagram. Go holla at him.
That's right. Pocket Watch Podcast. Thank you for tuning in another week. We fuck with y'all. Thank you so much. Again, if this is the first time watching, make sure you subscribe or like, follow, comment, do what you got to do. Help us with our goal, man. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of this year. We're implementing some on YouTube.
So,
on YouTube.
Yeah.
By the end of this year, we're implementing some things. We're going to make this happen. We got some good content coming for you in the coming up weeks. One of those is yours truly, Brody Vinson.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm glad to be here. You guys have a sick setup.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Welcome to the setup, bro.
Absolutely.
Me and
I
bro.
had a couple things in the background there, you said?
Yeah, man.
Looking good.
Nugs, not drugs. That's the newest
Agreed.
edition. Hopefully, it makes it in some of the clips. Mostly if Zach says some shit, maybe. So, Zach, you got to be on your A game.
That's kind of fucked up. You put the nugget picture over the Fat Boy.
No, it's perfect.
Damn. Was that purposeful?
They have to comment under that. That's perfect.
From now on, I'm gonna start bringing it like a little 4-piece of nuggets, and I'm gonna pull them out mid episode. It's like munch on some nuggets.
It's perfect.
We're
man.
talking about something, you're just mid-nug. Like, oh, yeah, totally agree.
This is now becoming an ASMR mukbang.
Damn, there's a market for that here.
There is.
Well, Brody Vinson, podcast host. If you haven't seen it, I'm on one of his episodes.
Probably coming out around the same time as this.
Either next week or last week or the next 2 weeks or something like that. Stay tuned. Profession Session is super cool channel, super dope YouTube, super dope follow on Instagram or TikTok or whatever the case is. It's honing in on entrepreneur tips, professional tips, ways to be successful. I'll let you get into it or whatever more, but it's a great follow. It's a great channel. That's why we're having him on.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it. So I started it just because I realized I have always really liked talking to friends, peers, people about what they do professionally and just kind of boiling down the different things that it takes to be successful in whatever you're doing. There's commonalities I find across all professions that allow you to just succeed. A lot of it has to do with your mindset, your practices, your habits, that kind of stuff. So I have professionals of all different types, all different categories, all different industries on just to talk about the types of things that have allowed them to be successful and really like achieve a lot in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
So it kind of just boils that down. And I will be actually this week, this Wednesday is going to be, we're recording this on, is this March 10th? 12th. This Wednesday will be episode number 52, which marks a year. So I've been doing it for about a year.
Hey!
Yeah.
Give him a round of applause.
Exciting stuff. I've had an absolute blast doing it. I knew I would because I have fun doing it anyway, and I figured it would be cool stuff to share. I'd get opportunities to talk to a lot of smart people, smarter people than myself about what they do, and it's just fun to share it with people.
And it's perfectly aligned because, like, I love it. I love it too. We love it too because that's like we're a goofy podcast, right? Comedy, whatever the case is, but we're also a point of view of an accountant, entrepreneur, and realtor. So we can't help but to get to stuff like what you talk about, you know. So I love that shit, and I love how it's perfectly aligned because you are a business owner and stuff as well, right?
I am. So I am a partner of a few partners, 4 of us now, of a staffing company called Chef on the Fly. Super niche company. Essentially what we do is we do temporary staffing and permanent placement, direct hire for chefs, cooks, food service workers. So it's a very specific kind of industry, and we started it with two of my partners now have backgrounds in the industry, having been chefs for decades now each. And they just saw this need that there was a lot of chefs, especially coming out of COVID, that needed work and were kind of out of a job for one reason or another, and a lot of employers on the other side that were having a lot of trouble finding quality talent. So we just merged those two together. One of my partners had a huge Facebook group of like kind of people on both sides. We kind of just brought those two together, and we've been kind of putting people in better jobs, and it's grown from there.
Man, that's interesting. I like that because it's like in the business world, you want to find that little niche. You have to find a little niche, you know?
Yeah. I think you can succeed both ways, but finding a niche that is really, really true to what your experience is can really take you far.
And so how did you meet your partner? So he was doing, he was already in the industry?
Yeah.
Meaning like chef staffing or cooking, like chef?
Being a chef himself, also a serial entrepreneur though. So he's been a chef for like 35 years, maybe even a little bit longer now, and been kind of growing this group, this Facebook group that we use for about 12 years. And meanwhile, the whole time he's been just doing stuff like selling knives, doing different like pop-ups, like all kinds of stuff, very like entrepreneurial spirit. So it was a natural fit for him. And I really just met him because I had a full-time job at the time. I was working in digital marketing and kind of some similar stuff. And I had a full-time job, but I was doing all kinds of freelance work on the side because I've always known that I wanted to be a business owner. It just kind of like entrepreneurship kind of ran in my family, and I got to see it from a young age and be exposed to it. So I always knew I wanted to do my own thing eventually. So I knew like if I got a head start on it early while I was working full-time and learning stuff, that I could kind of figure some of the kinks out and like it'd be a little bit ahead once I did decide to make that step. So I was just doing freelance work for different small business owners, just stuff like website design, little email marketing stuff, whatever kind of provided value and whatever helped them with whatever they were struggling with at the time.
Yeah.
And I met someone who met someone else who referred me to someone else. And I just met him through doing that. And we kind of talked. He had this idea and we came together and kind of, it was originally supposed to be an app that helped place private chefs, but we ended up falling more into the corporate side of that because there was a lot more opportunity and just a lot more set up there, and it's grown ever since.
Yeah, dude. Like you said a couple of things that were interesting to me too, because it's like I've tried to dabble into the entrepreneurship, right? And it's not my personality type, and it doesn't run in the family. Right. So like my dad had a business for a while and I seen it tank. Right. So like that's my experience with entrepreneurship is like throughout my childhood, he always had a business. It always did like okay. Like he made like 60 grand a year from his business, you know, which is like solid for having your own business.
You could do that consistently as a business owner. That's impressive stuff.
Yeah, man. So I was, you know, so like I never like respected it. You know, like as a kid, like my dad like happened to run into a business. Yeah. He wasn't like an entrepreneur type person. He just happened to run into a niche that he could make money off of, and he made a business out of it. But by the time I could even perceive or conceptualize what was going on, it tanked. It fell off. So like my experience was like I saw nothing but the risk. You know what I mean? Like I think by the time I was 13 is when it kind of fell out and he lost everything. And it was like really rough for him. But because it also shows like we talked about niche and how that's a place to make money, right? For him, it was dangerous because he was in the teeth industry and he would like mold, you know, like, you know how you have to get like a gold tooth or a silver tooth or something?
Yeah, I have
porcelain.
My front two teeth are replaced because I had
what? Your butt teeth?
Yeah.
They look good, dude.
Half of them. So I
half of this one's fake.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I had when I was like 15, I went over the top of my bike handles. I like hit some like pothole or something. Went over the top, grinded half of them right off. So they're replaced, and I had to do something like that. I had to go like get a mold taken.
Bro, thank God for like the teeth industry, bro, because we would look like some ugly motherfuckers if we didn't have that, right? Like Zach would be missing his tooth.
I'd be doing.
You want to tell the story or no?
Oh, yo,
yeah,
bro. Speaking of this, we were in high school, middle school. We were in middle school, and just think about like the perception of middle school. Looks is everything, you know, like whatever. Like
eighth grade year,
you got a pimple and that ruins your day, kind of, right? So we were in the back of the bus and we were talking, we were laughing, just the back of the school bus type shit. And Zach started laughing hard as shit, right? Off of a joke. and his tooth fell out. And
What?
nobody knew that he had a fake tooth. Bro, we're like middle schoolers. Nobody has fake teeth. And
I
Zach
thought you were
starts
saying like this was the original story on like how you lost your tooth, like it just
No.
fell out.
no, he been lost that shit.
Yeah, so I started laughing. I said a joke and I started laughing and my tooth just fell out and everybody started dying, like couldn't even breathe. I'm like, okay, it wasn't that funny now. And then once somebody goes, Zach, your fucking tooth, and I'm like, oh, it's gone. I looked down on the floor. That's what made it even funny. I looked down on the floor and it's just sitting there on the floor bus. I grabbed it and popped back in. So it's not supposed to come out.
Yeah.
But I just pushed it back in and lodged it into place.
It was way quicker than that. Zach was like,
That's
oh shit, I
wild.
hope they don't notice. And we were laughing. You know when you laugh at a joke and then something happens, like the laugh was funny or something, then you laugh even harder because it's like,
you look around you look at how people are laughing. That's even more
yo,
hilarious.
did everybody just see
It's just
Zach's
like-
tooth fall out when we were just... No.
I just grabbed that shit.
But my point with that was it's interesting because like he made a lot of money off of a business because of a niche, but it was a niche that became obsolete because he was making the silver teeth or the gold teeth, and then he started doing porcelains. He was like spending time making porcelains and stuff. These days, bro, dentists and stuff, they have machines that make
Yep, they do it in house now. They could do 3D printing or something too.
So like those
I think mine are
machines,
probably 3D printed.
those are the things that put him out of business.
Right.
Ain't that crazy? So like the doctor started just making a little upfront investment, or the dentist started making an upfront investment in this machine that just molds it and makes it off of a scan from their mouth or whatever the case is.
Weird enough, so my because my tooth kept falling out. that was not a one-off
It's
occasion.
not supposed to happen.
No, that was not a one-off
I feel
occasion.
like once it happens the first time, it probably happens easier the second.
Well, so like the doctor kept doing it, and I've actually had the same one because I have like, so what happened was I hit a fucking counter. I hit a bar stool. I slipped in water and hit a bar stool, and it knocked out this half of this tooth, and then this tooth in here is cracked. I'm just waiting for that shit to finish breaking. Any day is gonna happen. But anyway, so this
if
one
it happens mid podcast, it's a great clip.
I hope not. I'm gonna cry. But so, anyways, like the doctor kept doing it, and it kept falling out. And then the last time he did it, he just custom built it with like 20, 30 layers, and he would just shape it himself with a fucking like basically sandpaper.
Wow.
He'll build another layer, let it dry, and he just built it all the way up. And that shit's been holding for.
So the person did it better.
Yeah, that shit's been holding for over 15 years now, probably.
There you go.
It's just not
Finally
going to
stuck.
satisfy the masses, though.
Yeah.
Like the output that some of these dentists need or whatever. But it's interesting too because like we talked about like things that because those machines aren't AI, but it's like a good analogy.
It is. Another point I wanted to make, like as you were kind of getting into that, few things. I don't think entrepreneurship and business ownership is for everyone.
No.
I think that's important. It's for me personally, and I've known that for a while because I love it. I just love the challenge of it. I think that's an important quality that you would have to have if you want to get into it. You have to love it. You can't just be doing it because you think there's more money in it, because if that's your reason, then there's not more money in it.
Yep.
And you're going to fail because when you come across challenges, you've got to constantly adapt and pivot. I mean, I already have many times in the couple of years I've been doing what I'm doing. We constantly have to. And the reason I can keep doing that is because I love the challenge of it. And I think you have to kind of have that baked into you to want to keep going with that.
Yeah, dude.
Have you ever been in a business like by yourself?
Not really, besides just the freelance stuff.
Okay.
And
I wanted to
so-
ask, man, because like I've always been in business myself, and it's fucking tiring when you're the only person to fucking solve the problems, when you're the only person to deal with everything. It gets fucking exhausting. And sometimes, man, I would love to have somebody else to kind of like fucking help me and assist me with certain things, bro.
But
I got
that's
a question for you.
Go.
Do you consider yourself an extroverted person?
Yeah, I would say I'm
You?
extroverted. Yeah.
So I think the like business ownership by yourself versus with partners kind of comes down to like how you're wired personally.
Yeah.
If you are that way, you probably find that because like you're missing a little bit of that energizing that you need. Like having partners, at least for me personally, I consider myself the same, like very extroverted. I get very energized by conversation. So having like I'm talking to my partners for hours a day, most weekdays, just about like what the next steps are, that kind of thing. And I think it's important to have that. I mean, like what you guys have going on with the podcast, you might find that you're like more energized with that because you guys are constantly talking about it, like running ideas by each other.
Right.
Like
Cruz is lucky to get a reply from me.
Yeah, no, I talk to myself a lot in the group chat. Like, hey guys, so this is the plan. This is what we're thinking about doing. And then the next day I go, cool. So it's already done.
he's like replying to his own comments.
Like, nah, I think we should do this instead. Nah, but what about this? Actually, on second thought.
2 days later, you're like, good point, Cruz.
Nah, but
I think there is definitely like I definitely think there is like a factor of like loneliness in it, because there are times I'm like, man, it'd be nice to be able to bullshit with like a coworker or something like that. But I think like the root of it is just that, bro, it would be fucking nice for somebody else to fucking handle this stress with me.
That too.
For me, it's two things. It's like, I think successful entrepreneurs and business owners find people that can help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So, like, you almost have to partner up
At one point, yeah.
at one point or another, whether it's to get it off the ground or it's to take it to the next level, right? Like, my dad was a great example. Terrible entrepreneurship skills, had a talent, made a business off the talent, couldn't keep it going. Or
if he had a sales rep for him or something like that, he probably could have.
He could have made way more money. He didn't have. My mom did his numbers, right? Like, that's a big reason why I became an accountant. Is I saw the value of like not knowing numbers.
Right.
So he had zero like touch, pull, any knowledge of numbers. My mom was doing it, and she wasn't an accountant either, but she was smarter than him, and she did like the books and shit for him. But like, she was seeing things before he would see things. But like, it was still that wife, husband. It wasn't like your CFO partner saying, yo, we need to start pivoting this way because I'm seeing this. It was like, my fucking wife is telling me, you know what I mean? And it's like, that was unhealthy, A, but B, it's like, I saw the need for it, and he just didn't do that. Like, get people that can help him out in that world.
You're capped by yourself in anything.
Yeah.
You have to have help to grow something. I mean, that's been so true for me in anything I've done. I have people that help me with editing for the podcast. That's the only reason I've been able to grow. I did everything myself for the first like 15 or so episodes, maybe a little over that. And I could only do so much. I mean, I kind of like I was burning myself out, and I couldn't really grow it the way I wanted to. And so I got some help with editing, and I've like got a little bit more help since that. And it's allowed me to, one, focus on my business more, but also grow the podcast the way I want to. And so I think as a business owner or entrepreneur, you have to be aware of that, and you have to always be making sure that your weaknesses are covered, one, with help, and that the things that slow you down the most in business are covered with some kind of help. And I would say that comes with a caveat too. You want to make sure that you know how to do everything, but you don't necessarily have to be the one doing
everything.
So I'd say that to say, if you have no idea how to do accounting, don't just jump straight to outsourcing it. Don't just immediately go for an accountant to help you out with stuff. Because then you're not going to really know how to. You won't know whether they're doing right by you and doing.
You're not getting good help. You don't know if you're getting good help or not.
And I think, I mean, this is kind of a principle of leadership too, which is maybe the most important quality that you have to have as a business owner or entrepreneur to grow. But to really get the most out of any kind of service or help that someone's giving you, you have to really be driving what you need. Like, if you, like in that example of having an accountant help you, you can have the best accountant helping you like ever, but I mean, if you're not giving them what they need and doing it the right way and communicating with them right, they're not going to be able to do anything for you.
You still got to be like well-rounded to get the best help.
And you have to learn it first and then outsource it, I think.
You're the epitome of shit we talk about when we talk about like business owners, entrepreneurs, shit like that, right? Because I've shitted on the business degree multiple times, right? But it always came with the caveat of, unless you want to do business, like unless you need that general knowledge. Right? Like, if you're trying to go into the corporate world with a business degree, you're going to have a hard time. I'm sorry, because you're not good at one thing, you know. And
says the guy going for a business degree in the corporate world.
No. I'm sorry, like for undergrad, right? For undergrad,
no, I'm just fucking with you, bro. I know, I'm just fucking with you.
I'm like, man, like and I see it at like my company, I see it with friends, I see it with some of my family.
And we talked about this on your episode of my podcast, being a generalist versus a specialist.
Yeah, man. And there's different places that for that with anything. But like if you want to be a business owner, that's why I always say like business degrees are good for people that want to be business owners, right? And then you did that and you were doing the, you know, freelance stuff or whatever the case is. Then you get into your actual business, you're partnering up with people, and then you double down and you go in for the MBA. That's how me and Brody know each other. We're in the same MBA program. So you double down and you're like, no, I want to learn more, right? So you double down, you get into the MBA, and it's like solidifying, it's crystallizing all these ideas and thoughts that you think are right. It's like,
that's exactly it. I'm just trying to dive in full force. So the MBA was perfect for me because it was like, it's literally like every class is like the minimum viable knowledge that you need in this particular area. We've got strategic marketing management and business law this semester, and it's like, what are the things that you need? Like what I was talking about earlier, you have to kind of know how to do something or know what's going on in a particular area. An MBA gives you that knowledge in each area.
Yeah.
So if you need to initiate some kind of marketing thing, you can have a marketing director that you're managing and you know what to look for because you learned that.
Yeah, no, I like every time I hear, because when you do these MBA programs, we're in a cohort MBA program. So meaning who we start the program with is who we finish the program with. It's kind of like the closest thing to high school you'll get after high school.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
Like you come back from semesters and you're like, hey, how you been? You know, this and that. But everybody that I talked to that had a business degree, I was always like, okay. But then when they say that they're like an entrepreneur or something, I'm like, you're smart. That's a badass right there. You know? And honest, there's only two in our program. You and Jossie are the only two like quote unquote entrepreneurs in the program that had a business degree and coming back for more in the MBA. I respect the hell out of you guys. I like that. You know what I mean?
Thank you, man. I mean, it just came out of like some like deep reflection, I would say. It's like trying to have more self-awareness. I kind of just saw a lot of weaknesses I had, and I was like, I can't grow a business to where I want it to be without having some of the knowledge that has served big business as well.
Yeah, man.
And you learn the principles that have made big businesses succeed and continue to succeed and grow.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to bring that stuff to a small business.
It's funny, man, because it's like, that's why you don't see successful entrepreneurs much, right? That's why it's the smaller percentage, whether it comes to podcasting, whether it comes to like business, like actual trying to make some money off of some type of market or niche or whatever, because it takes a combination of things. Like we were touching on it with, are you an introvert, extrovert? It takes a combination of things that don't mix well with each other. And when I say that, I mean, you need, I don't care what you're doing. If you're starting a business, if you're starting an idea and you're trying to make that bigger than what it is, you need some sort of delusional confidence, right? You need, like, how many ideas that make money now, if you said it to a buddy when you're thinking about it, they say like, yeah, but, you know, like, you need that delusional confidence to be like, no, motherfucker, like, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, hey, we're doing a podcast. It's called Pocket Watch Podcast. It's like, yeah, but like, bro, you know how many podcasts like start every day? And like, what are you guys even doing? You know, like, you're not even famous or nothing. And it's like, no, we need that delusional confidence where it's like, no, people want to fucking hear what we got to say.
And it's like, I think you're on the right. If you are wondering whether you're an entrepreneur and can make it, I think a good sign is that you hear something like that. You hear like someone trying to shut down like an idea that you have, and you're like, no, fuck you. Like, I want to prove you wrong. Like, I want to do this. Like,
but it's like,
I'm going to prove it.
Yeah. It's like delusional confidence, but you also have to have realism.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is where you were kind of getting at, saying it like the things don't naturally come together. Typically, you kind of have to have both.
Yeah.
You have to have like that delusional confidence. You have to really have like you have to have a comfortability with every day being very different.
Yep.
A lot of people don't have that. It's something I've gravitated towards for whatever reason. I like every day being very different.
Yep.
I am, in some ways, I'm a creature of routine and habit, but in other ways, like I get very, very bored if every day is the same. So you have to have a comfortability with like every day being different, but at the same time, you have to have discipline and structure to your day.
Yeah.
And your efforts, because if you're just rolling completely with everything being different, you're not going to be able to organize anything.
Yeah. And like something I've noticed is like you need, like, how about even just podcast world? You need, and it applies to everything. You need that delusional confidence, but you also need like you need to be the biggest critique of yourself. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that is not something that happens. You got somebody with delusional confidence, and that is it. That is that motherfucker. Right? Like the delusionally confident dude, like no matter what you tell him, I don't care. I can walk on water if I have to.
I'm going to amend the delusional confidence now that you say that. I think it's more you have to have resilience. Mm-hmm. You have to have resilience against challenges and
Criticism.
And criticism. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just resilience.
Yeah, because it's like you do a post or you do a video and it doesn't get that many views. Are you going to fold?
You gotta have confidence.
Or you open a shop or you do
the delusional confidence, I think, can get you into trouble. And I've seen people like that in the business world that have the delusional confidence. And if something's not working that they think should be working, maybe they'll be able to push it all the way through and get it to work, but maybe not. And if it's a bad idea to begin with, and they're not open to the criticism of that and won't take any input on that, then they're just going to burn out and fail because they weren't open to the criticism.
But it's like the textbook CEO, right? Like the CEO, everybody, like, you know, the stereotype of a CEO is that person, right? It's that we're going to do it this way, and this is the vision, and this and that, right? But then they have a team, a partner or something that, like, does the numbers or something, and then, like, checks it, and then they keep working, you know? But, like, if you want to do that all in one, which most of the time, if you're starting something, you kind of have to do most of that all in one. Mm-hmm. That's why it's interesting what you did, because you guys, did you start the company as a partnership?
Yeah.
Like, he was like, hey, what did he say to you, or whose idea was it to start that staffing agency?
I was the last one that was brought in, actually. So it was a couple of them that had already talked about this whole idea, and it was supposed to be just an app that could allow kind of the pairing of, like, chefs that needed work, and it was supposed to be for private chefs initially. It was supposed to be like pairing private chefs that needed work with different like dinner parties and events and like long-term needs. And so we had the partner that has all the connections and the history in the industry, and then my other partner is kind of similar to me but also different. He's very much like an entrepreneurial type, has his own company, very like marketing centric. And then at the time I was doing a lot of freelance work with websites, so I kind of came in as the technical side. My partner, one of my other partners, the one that's kind of the marketing guy, who's still one of my partners and very, very great friend. I've had him on my podcast a few times. Andy Varnes, shout out.
Dope.
He just called me one day and he was like, hey, like, we've got this idea and we are going to need some technical work. We're going to need someone to build a website and build out some of this stuff. And I was wondering if you're interested. And I was like, let's meet.
Oh, that was such a hit, bro.
We met at a Panera and talked for like 3 hours.
That's where all the business deals go down.
Yeah.
Panera and Starbucks.
Exactly.
And Twin Peaks.
That's true. Shout out to Twin Peaks. We
and-
had some terrible business conversations there.
You have to have the terrible ones to get to the good ones.
Yes, that's
important.
That's
Another important note is, I mean, when we started that, like, that was like early 2021 when we first got together and started talking about that. I had my full-time job until like October or November of that year, before like things were like, we didn't make any money until the end of September of that year because we
Of 20, what year?
2021.
2021.
Yeah. So we didn't make any money until September of that year because we didn't really have our idea figured out. We were just like, we were doing all this work without really having the revenue part of it even figured out, just trying to build stuff up for months. And we would meet when we could. We were all working full time with other stuff. And I think you kind of have to do that unless you literally have everything lined up.
Yeah, man.
It's a safer way to approach it.
But that was a hit on his side because, like, back to what we were talking about when Zach was mentioning things, like, I just want to share this with somebody, you know? It's hard to find somebody that cares about it as much as you do and can offer as much as you can. That is fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, even with the podcast shit, right? It's like, Jacob and Zach are my guys. Those, like, I'm not doing this with nobody else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But also, like, I might care more. like on a daily kind of thing. You know what I mean? But then, like, when it comes to, like, another business that, like, hey, I like how you're working with, you know, Cruz. I like your mentality with this and that. But then I go, like, yo, I don't care that much about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a perfect trifecta.
Yeah.
Of you got to care about what we're doing. We talked about having an intern on to help us with sound shit, you know, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but, like, is that person going to care? Like, we care.
It's
and
a
that's
hard
like,
thing.
Man, like, care about it
find.
and provide value. Because, like, you find another potential partner that cares, but it's because they have zero value and they want to just be a part of anything. Mm-hmm. Or somebody that doesn't care because they have so much value, XYZ, or whatever the case is, you know? And it's like, damn, how can I find a Brody? You know what I mean? Like if I'm a chef and I got a good idea and then you hit up Brody and it's this guy that's literally did business and then doubles down into business and is talking to you about the website and the business side and all that. And it's like, that's like, fuck, that's the side I needed.
I think
that's like perfect, man.
I think if I could boil down, and this is important because if you're looking for someone like that, then these are the qualities I think you would want to look for. I think the reason that he took a chance on me and bringing me into his idea was that I was just ready to provide value in whatever way that I could. Like I saw that the idea was good, and I genuinely came ready to provide value to make it happen. I was like, I'm bought in. How can I help? What do you need? I'll do that work.
Yeah, and you were already a person that understood that you were going to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
that's I might have been the most important preface, though. You know, it's like he didn't even know. You know, like how many business majors that are doing freelance that I could hit up. Right, there's this pool of 100 people. There's probably 5% of them, Brody included, right, that are like, oh, but they have the mentality that we need on top of that.
Well, that's the importance of networking, which, I mean, as you guys know, the podcast is such a great thing for that. But that's the importance of networking with like-minded peers. Like, if you're looking to grow stuff, and like we said before, you have to have help and you have to partner with people to grow. And you've got to be out there networking and meeting new people to find those people. You're not going to find those if you don't already have those people around you or in your vicinity. You've got to find them.
Yep, 1000%.
So you got to just put yourself into the world,
and then you got to deal with, you know, the other side too, which is probably like one of Zach's like, whenever it came to like adding people to the pot, is like you got to deal with different opinions, and you got to be ready for that. Mm-hmm. You know, like some of the, like you do a podcast yourself, right? So like you have the vision, you have the standards, everything XYZ. Like our stuff, different ideas we have, we gotta run it through the channel, and some people don't like that, you know. But then it's like it's a give and take. Like do you want help? But then you gotta deal with the different, you know. It's not just you anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's not just your ideas or whatever the case is. Like
there's
you gotta accept it.
At play. Yeah.
You gotta accept the help also. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's hard because, like I said, it's like that delusional confidence a little bit, but also like. You got to be realistic, and you got to be the biggest critique. So when somebody is critiquing you, and you should be able to recognize that. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be like, oh, this guy's, I can't have him a part of this because all he does is critique what we're doing. But what if it's good? Like, what if it's the criticism that gets you to the next level? Like, yo, your clips suck.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck you. I worked so hard on these clips. You know, it's like, no, your clips suck. You know what I mean? Or like, your sound ain't right. Or
you should ask why. You should say, why do you think they suck? How can I do better?
1000%, dude. 1000%.
Feel
bro.
you. People get into trouble I think people get into trouble if they keep yes men around them that just only tell them what they want to hear and only tell them that their clips are good. And people get into trouble by not listening to the critiques.
Yeah. And the healthy balance is probably like keeping people around you respect. So when you do get criticism, you can you can take that.
You can
Yeah.
value it.
Like don't take criticism from the comments or like Yelp or some shit for the most part, you know. But like if you're keeping people around you that you respect and you're getting that same criticism, like you know there's something to be done, right? Like even the podcast is like if somebody comments on some of our shit, I might not take it, but like when I have like you on or if I'm talking to some other podcasters or whatever the case is, and they're like, yo, like if you just do this, like you got to take that, and if you don't, then you're only hurting yourself.
I was just telling my girlfriend this yesterday. I forget what we were talking about, but the maybe single most impactful, biggest piece of advice I've ever heard, and I couldn't remember where I heard it. I feel like I've heard it in a couple different places.
That's yours now.
It's just no, I can't claim credit. I can't claim credit for it. But it was just do not take advice from people that do not have what you want to have.
Yeah.
And that's not to say don't take advice at all. You should be taking advice and critique on things, but only from people who have the thing you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Or like weigh it differently.
Yeah.
Like, cool, I'm getting a lot of criticism on this, but I know like that, you know, like my girl criticizes us on everything, but I weigh it so differently because I'm just like, you're not who we're looking for. First of all,
I've had people that are a cashier at Wendy's try to tell me how to run business.
right.
And I'm looking like, oh, okay, yeah.
Which it could be a valid criticism, but you weigh that totally different.
You weigh it differently.
Than the guy that you're trying to be giving you criticism or something like that. You know, that's 1,000%. Let's do another White Claw and let's transition into
Let's
something.
do it.
Give me one more, puppy.
There you go, brother. You got a pineapple right there.
Yeah,
Pineapple's fire.
Cruz likes
Should we
upside
get
down
into,
pineapples.
yeah. I'm an upside down pineapple kind of guy.
I always pegged you as that.
Literally.
Don't make that a clip.
Too late.
Clipped it.
All right, so let's get into some shit. What's some stuff that you had
speaking
going?
topics we talked about. So, I actually heard about this website that I found this first article on from our marketing professor. It's this website called The Hustle.
Yeah, that's
Have
a
you
good
been into
one.
that?
Yeah, bro. I like
So,
that one.
There was this article about how this company in, I think, Hong Kong decided to, I think it was like an online gaming company, and they decided to replace their CEO with AI. So the article leads in, it's like, yeah, we have this new CEO that we initiated, and she's working 24/7 and being paid $0. There's only one catch. She's AI.
Well, I mean, technically, it costs some type of money.
Relatively
build.
nothing.
Yeah, probably to build.
An
because-
upfront cost.
And is there no
Yeah,
maintenance
upfront
costs on it either?
That's a good question. Let's get into the article.
I'm sorry. I'm more like I'm thinking about the business side of it. I'm like, there's no way that they implemented this with $0.
These
I'm
are
sure there was.
important questions.
Long story short,
Yeah,
it's not.
I'm getting to the details.
It's not
of
a
this.
She's
percentage of the
compensated
company.
$0 a year.
Yeah, compensated. Yeah, okay.
So some of the interesting things that I saw about this is that they actually had revenue go up a lot. And some stats that the article shared is that at Fortune 500 firms right now, the average CEO is being paid $16 million a year. That's a massive cost. If you can replace that, I mean, if there's upfront costs, there's upfront costs. But if you can replace that with someone being compensated $0 a year. Another thing I think of and I don't know if it said this in the article or not, I didn't get to read the whole thing, but another thing I think of is like a big thing in business a lot of times is kind of you have to take the emotion out of the decisions in a lot of cases and really just rely on logic. And I wonder if you could get it to the right point, especially if you've got a lot of historical data with like a big company that's been around for years.
You got data.
I wonder if you could just take that data and make an AI that is going to make better decisions than any CEO could.
Essentially, it sounds like that's what they're doing.
I would say though, a lot of CEOs, man, if you like, pretty much every CEO you talk to, man, they're kind of like robotic.
It's true.
A lot of them are really able to
Of like the
disconnect
big
their
companies.
Yeah, they're able to disconnect their emotions from business, and like they understand, like, because they've been in the industry for a while and they know how it works, and it's like it's fucking business. We're letting go, like fucking, for example, Disney just announced they just brought their old CEO back, and Disney just announced their
Bob Iger, I think.
yeah, Bob Iger or something like that, and they just announced that they're cutting how many employees was it again? I don't forget what the number was.
I'm not sure.
But
I
it was
didn't
like
watch that.
multiple thousands that they're cutting, and he just came in and that's like
I wonder if that's gonna be good for them or not. I know like Elon Musk just did that with Twitter, and I've been hearing nothing but Twitter's having so many issues. I don't really use Twitter. I've just never.
The issues I've heard from people though that about the problems is that they just don't agree with the fucking decisions that are being made. They don't agree. They don't agree with the open communication, non censorship.
I've heard it's been crashing a lot too. Like there's a lot of technical issues.
So, like, I think back to the AI CEO a little bit is even if you're like robotic, right? Like, or if you're a systematic thinker kind of thing that like goes to that robotic mindset or whatever. If you just hire a CEO, they can't help as a person, as an ego, as a career, as a this. I got to make my impact, right? So like even Elon Musk is probably like super, I mean, well versed in everything that needs to happen, whatever the case is. But is there a lot of decisions he makes or he's made with Twitter that goes to this is my impact, right? Mm-hmm. Like this is what I'm gonna do for the company. Yeah. Even if he is the most analytical thinker there
I think
that was a really big point in the article is like the ego of CEOs, and there's so many decisions that get made by big CEOs that are for their own benefit that end up kind of being bad for the company. Now, a big drawback of this, as just my personal opinion though, is a very important part of being a CEO is creating a culture that works for the company.
Oh my God, bro.
And I don't see AI being able to create culture. I mean, creating culture is understanding people and how people work and how to create things that work for people. And I mean, based on anything I've seen, I don't think AI is there yet.
No.
It's interesting though, because I'm just trying to think of like problems that can come up that AI can't handle. And I feel like there might be situations where AIs might not be able to handle every situation, but then again, you would have other executives in place, I feel like, because you get rid of the CEO, but the CFO is there to kind of like manage the finances and make decisions on the behalf of the finances for that. Are they only replacing the CEO?
I'm sure there's other positions that are being replaced as well. This particular article was focusing on the CEO because there was that one example. Mm-hmm. But
because I feel like having AI control your operation side could definitely be. I feel like you would have. I feel like an AI and CFO would be better and more like optimized than a CEO.
But still, it's decisions to be made that it's the most logical decision to be made, right? Like
any positions like that, I think it's very good for.
Man, because like how many, like I've seen situations where.
Sorry, I tried to cut you off. I just had like a thought. Like my thing is the AI is not going to go out and make a business deal.
That's true.
The AI is not going to go out and say, okay, we have a logistic problem. This company over here is doing good. They just tapped into China. Let me go fucking take that guy out to dinner and say, hey, I need you guys.
A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. AI is not going to do that.
Yeah.
What they're going to do is send an email, best case scenario. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of business you're in. And like, I'm always trying to like roll into the details of things.
I think an important note here is if you're trying to kind of position yourself for success, interpersonal skills are becoming.
Yeah, like AI can't get a deal done on the golf course.
And
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Interpersonal skills are becoming increasingly more rare, good ones at least, and increasingly more valuable because AI is replacing things that require operation and logic, but I think it's far flung from being able to replace interpersonal skills, and you can see that when you use anything that uses AI, like it's missing that human element, and I think there's a long ways to go before it could replace that. So if you can develop those skills, that becomes very valuable. I
guess maybe the argument on that side too would be like, okay, well, you don't send the AI CEO, you send a sales rep or a marketing rep. You send one of those guys over there to close the deal.
Yeah.
And maybe the AI initiates the deal or tells you, hey, this company over here, I just pulled data from online, and this company over here seems to be the most, let's say this from like a logistical standpoint, this company over here is the biggest shipper of X goods for this location. We need to reach out to them, and then that's maybe when the sales reps or maybe like the marketing reps or something that reach out to them, you know?
I think it's really good for research and stuff too. Here's an example. We talked off air before the podcast about how you had put into Chat GPT, like what are some good speaking topics for this particular thing. But Chat GPT can't come on the podcast and like give opinions that
outside of the
impactful
topic.
On the topic.
It can only recite data.
Yeah. Like what we're doing right here, like we looked up an article that is just text based, but here we are talking about it, giving that human element. I don't think AI can replace that, really.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, too, like, the thing for me, when you bring up that article is like, hey, here's, like, a fucking badass tool that CEOs could have.
Yeah.
Or CFOs could have, right?
I think it's a tool, yeah.
Like, maybe not a replacement, but damn, if it's zero cost, right? Like, if it's, like, a $10,000 upfront cost, people are spending millions on something that's way less impactful. You know what I mean? So it's like, at the very least... Because even in some of our classes, they're like, hey, when you guys are directors or whatever the case is, use this model to help you make decisions. How about using this AI to help you make decisions? So then you know personally what decisions you're making outside of logic a little bit. And you could validate to yourself a little bit like, well, because I had these conversations, I know these deals are going to get done that the data is not necessarily showing. So I will make that decision outside of what this AI is saying, you know, but don't do that too much, right? If you feel like you're going against that logical decision constantly now, and you're not getting the best results, now you know why.
Yeah, because you've got the data that shows what you should be thinking about to a degree.
And it's almost like it'd be a cool thing to implement. Like, here's what the logical decision said, and we're going with it. We're going with it. Oh, here's what this said, and this is why. And then the CEO says, this is why we're not going to go with that. This is, you know, so then people can understand the process of decision making and stuff like that. And that helps people buy into that idea or that new thing or whatever the case is. I don't know. It is interesting.
It's the right way to think about it, that it's a tool, because you can't get by with only logic or only emotion. You've kind of got to have both. Like you can't just look at like a bottom line of like your profit and loss and say, hey, these employees are making a little bit too much, so we've got to reduce their salary and we'll be more profitable. Because in reality, knowing what you know on the interpersonal side, that's going to disincentivize them to do well, and your company's probably going to tank.
Yeah,
and you've got to understand all the factors.
Maybe that AI CEO has data from researches that shows that information, and he can make that decision off of that. Because if there's research on like how certain situations that could be emotionally based could improve, then maybe if there's research on it and data on it, he can take that. The AI can take that and actually implement that into their decision making process too.
But just like everything we talk about, there's a balance, man.
Absolutely,
there's a balance because like they have examples of this in the NFL, like where they're getting super technical, and some coaches, some GMs are making, like if you've seen Moneyball, right? Moneyball. This guy drafts all. He built a team straight off analytics. He didn't look. He did zero. He took zero. How do you call it? He took zero information in on like all the other factors outside of here's their hits. Here's this. Here's how often they get on base. And they built a team, the cheapest team ever to go to the World Series or whatever the case is. Right. So that's like a great story. But also it's like. We all know you can see data and statistics are like situational, right? Like, you know, like I forgot what the saying was, but it's like you can make statistics say anything for the most part, you know, and it does take like a little bit of interpretation.
It definitely does.
For the best decision, right? Like there's a decision to be made off statistics, and you could be more or less right doing that. But then, like, interpreting that and then making a decision might be the ultimate best decision. And that's where you take... that's that person that can interpret, that understands certain statistics or whatever the case is. Like, you could look at our podcast and be like, all right, fucking 80% of our viewers are male. We're going straight male. Like, that's it. We're going hard on male. But it's also like, yeah, but you haven't touched enough people for that to be a valid statistic.
Sure.
Right?
Why you want to touch people?
We want to touch as many people as we can. But like, you see, like, there's some of that in there, right? Or like, I forgot what some of the other ones were, but like even I don't want to get too, but like gun violence, right, in the U.S. versus other countries.
Let's get canceled.
Right, we got crazy gun violence compared to other countries.
Yeah,
My guns never shot nobody.
I was.
But also, like, you can't compare
I
our
was in
statistics.
Waterford Lakes last night at Cooper's Hawk. It's this like winery with my girlfriend, and there was a shooting, like literally just right at the Waterford movie theater, just while we were in Cooper's Hawk.
Oh, there was a shooting last night? What was it like?
It was these teenagers driving around and just spraying.
Oh my god!
Did they hit
This, like,
people?
14 or 15-year-old got hit. I don't know any more about it, but yeah, it's just
I didn't even hear about that.
happened last night. It's absolutely insane. We only heard about it.
14, 15-year-old kid got hit?
We only heard about it so quick because like there was police cars everywhere, and we're like, "What the hell's going on?" Like,
Did they catch the people doing it?
I don't know yet. I haven't done follow up
That's
research on it
interesting.
yet. It's
I mean,
crazy.
that was a terrible. I'm sorry, guys, but I only say that to say not that we don't have a problem. I'm just saying you can't compare us to anybody that doesn't have the population we have or
Right.
above. And
Yeah.
if they're like if they don't have the same, like that's a great thing where it's like we do have a problem. Statistics will show we have a problem with gun violence in America. But also like when it comes to decision making, if you were to like go high level decision making, it's also like if you're comparing that to like Switzerland or some of these other countries that have way less people, or comparing us to countries that have way more people, but they're communist, or you know what I mean? Like they literally have intercoms that tell them to
Yeah.
go to bed or something like that. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, if you're making a decision based off that statistic, it's like you're not interpreting it. You're just saying yes, no, like yes, we have a problem, and that's it. And if you keep saying yes, 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 from a business point, if you're thinking of like, all right, our business statistically is high in this compared to these, and we would make this decision because of that.
Yeah.
But it would take somebody to be like, well, these businesses are way bigger and they operate different than us. These businesses are a lot smaller and operate way different than us because of that. We maybe don't make that decision because of this.
Or something as like specific as we have this cultural thing going on in our company that has been a very big driving force for our success, and making this data-driven decision could go against could go against that cultural thing that we have and kind of end up causing some problems later down the road.
Yeah.
That AI couldn't really predict.
Yeah, 1,000%, man.
You got to be able to consider the whole picture.
It's kind of too like we talked about the Abercrombie and Fitch or whatever in the last class or whatever, and it's like how they built the brand so well, and data shows that this customer segment is the best. Like that's your core. So you start going hard on the core based off data, right? Which is probably white dudes, surfer dudes, whatever the case is, and then hindsight they go, oh look,
We're missing the bigger picture.
Yeah, A&F.
The world does not like what we're doing.
Yeah, they're just marketing to these guys, these type of people. Look at all the models they're putting, and then it like kills their whole brand.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's
That's
like
delusional confidence.
and it's like leaning into data where it could be an issue. It's like, yeah, like a bunch of like, you know, like white boys, like surfer dudes love your shit, but that doesn't mean like you're going to risk the future of your business if you keep leaning into that. Even though that's a big core of yours right now and you're doing very successful, that is, if you keep making decisions based off that, you are where you are now.
Yeah.
You know, I had
consider the whole picture.
I had a cost accounting professor, and I mentioned this on the West Slap or whatever, but I had a cost accounting professor tell us, like, it's going to be, and I mentioned this on our podcast too. He was like, it's easier, you know, you guys are accountants, this and that. Be ready because this shit's coming. Like, there's going to be either coders or AI that are going to be better than you at the numbers. So you can no longer be a numbers guy. Or maybe he was saying the next 10 years, you shouldn't just pride yourself on being a numbers person because there's going to be something out there that's going to do it better than you. But what you need to do is understand it, do it well, because you're going to be an interpreter.
Yeah.
You need an interpreter to for that next level or to stay relevant. Like if you pride yourself on being a numbers person and then there's something out there that does that better, you need to understand what makes those numbers better. You know what I mean? Like you look at an income statement, you see this, that. You need to be a master interpreter. You don't need to necessarily anymore be the master creator of those numbers kind of thing, because there's going to be something better. It's easier to teach a coder a balance sheet and an income statement than an accountant to code.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like,
and there's
good luck.
probably going to be like some like balance sheet AI where you just plug in like your bank statements and whatever, and it just creates a balance sheet immediately. So
I'm sure stuff like that already exists. The amount of AI stuff that's going around is absolutely insane. I'm seeing all the different tools that are being dropped off from AI, and you know, a lot of people say like AI, but a lot of it, man, to me, just seems like it's like advanced tools.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
You know what I mean?
Everybody do you guys have a favorite like AI or advanced tool that you've been using recently or that you've heard of?
We're about to start using one. Zach sent me a little clip. This guy went through like 6 different AIs that are like mind blowing right now. ChatGPT was one of them. Obviously, I'm already using it for my homework.
Yeah.
Shout out to. I'm just playing. Never, ever.
I told our professor I used it in class. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, okay.
If it works, then it works.
I mean, you can't use it to like. You can't like submit a ChatGPT generated assignment, but what I did is like we had a presentation for our marketing class, and I had it write an entire outline and then like give a couple sentences of input on each thing, and so we kind of presented it did the research for us.
I literally
but
did.
You're using it and you're interpreting it, and
interpreting
then,
it,
which is different than just saying write me this essay,
and I'll submit it.
Yeah.
That's gonna get you
in
kicked
trouble.
out of school.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Zach?
No, I was saying like whenever I was like typing up stuff for like the podcast episodes and stuff like that, I did like I was trying to get topics, but I wrote something wrong, and I was like, give me an outline for like the best podcast, and it literally gave me like intro topics like like lines to hit, and then it was like filler closing out, and it like broke down like the whole structure of how you should have your podcast, and I was like, what the fuck?
Now the evolution of that, because it's a tool.
Yeah.
I love that we're getting to this. We're using it as a tool, because the evolution of that is ChatGPT. There's a couple others that are great at it right now, but it's like, what is that using?
Yeah.
Like, what data is that using to spit me this?
Yeah.
And then there's going to be those that are better. Just like you use Google's search engine for some things, you might want to use Bing search engine for other things because of the output you're getting. What AI is using what data to provide me, the tool that I'm using or whatever. Right now, ChatGPT is one of the best ones or whatever. But it's like the evolution of that is like, where are you getting this data? Because if I'm using one that's literally looking at all these podcast clips and podcast episodes and like listening duration and shit like that, I'm gonna use that when I say, give me the best podcast episode, because it's literally saying, hey, podcasts that use this topic at this time, like they get good retention. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's a tool, dude. It can't come on here and talk for us, but it's a great tool, dude.
It absolutely is.
To kind of answer your question, though, I would say one of the AIs basically that I found that I was really impressed with is one called video.ai. It's VIDYO.ai. And it actually makes clips out of your videos.
Oh, I think I might have tried this.
It does full subtitles. You can customize the subtitles.
Yeah.
You can customize everything. And it does full clips for you.
So 1,000%, we send our shit to Fiverr. I used to think that they would listen to hours of our episodes and come up with great clips. They're using something like that where it says, here's a good clip. Then they take that and make it great.
And I'll tell you right now, it does
good talking points.
It does pretty damn good of putting you like in the spot that you want to be. I would tweak it like a couple seconds, but it does pretty good hitting on like key points.
Like hone in on it.
Yeah, it does really good job hitting on key points. And there's like you can do like X amount of minutes a month or something like that for free. But they actually have like an editor software on it. And last time I've tried to use it twice, but both times I've been on to try to use it, the software was down for updating. So I don't know if it's like a full thing, but like there's actually like an editor software within the AI that you can actually use. And you're supposed to be able to do like way more in-depth editing than like what the templates are doing. But it's really cool because you can literally choose the template layout. It auto transcribes your subtitles. It puts it in there. You can choose the font you want, the color. You can choose the size, everything like that. All like on these little templates. It's super easy, man.
The recent one that Zach showed me that was super cool was the timestamp one.
Yeah, that was a cool. I forgot what it's called.
Upload a long form, and it literally tells you, it gives
The
timestamps
timestamps.
on different topics, which is something
That's
that we're
cool.
really trying to do. But it takes time, or
does.
you have to be aware within the episode, write some shit down or whatever, you know. But it's
The
like,
biggest thing for me is that like I could do it on the. I actually found a software that you use, and you just put markers in. I use Premiere Pro. You just press M, you click on the marker, and you type in what you want that that timeline to be or whatever. And you go through, and then as soon as you're done, you basically just go to like, it's like a plugin. You go to the plugin, and it automatically takes your markers and creates timelines of those markers. But the thing is, though, is while I'm editing and I'm like trying to fucking zoom in and all this stuff like that, the last thing I'm worried about is putting a marker, and I don't realize until I'm halfway through, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And-
it takes so much like thinking before
Yeah.
you get into it, and like setting yourself up to make things easier.
but we just explained the perfect nuance in what we were talking about with AI as a CEO. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it does a lot of work for you, but it's not like the end all be all.
Right.
No.
I don't believe so.
No, because the video.ai, so that's not to go in there and tweak things.
Yeah.
So it's like, show me the best couple decisions logically, and then I'll use my interpersonal skills, or I'll be the, I'll inference that and then make the decision after that.
It can zone you in on the right topic, but it can't like choose what the hook is going to be that's going to hit with people the most.
Yeah.
And like structure
At least not right now. I mean, who
Not
knows?
yet.
We're just getting an AI. Like, we're just starting to dabble in it, and it's just starting to like really come about. And I really think that we're going to be blown away in the next 10 years
Oh yeah.
with the technology. It's just crazy. I don't know if you guys saw. I just saw it the other day, but somewhere, I forgot where the fuck it was. I'm not gonna even say because I forgot. But they created a flying car.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
So we're in 2023 and we got fucking flying cars, and they actually did like a cross country flight with it and stuff like that.
What happens if you run out of gas and your car just falls on someone?
Same thing with the plane. You run out of gas in the plane, you fucking falling down
Yeah,
too.
but they got to implement something for stupid people. 'Cause
Right.
stupid people can't
It-
ride planes.
Because you
You're-
have to take a lot of lessons to be a pilot.
Or
Yeah.
it like takes you down if you're in a certain amount of
Yeah.
energy, regardless, and you can't.
My thing is that the FAA is so.
What's that?
The FAA is like the Federal Aviation Administration. And they're so huge with having what's it called, like fail safes in place, and like being like extra cautious. I think that it's going to take a lot for us to start seeing it like as a common
In the
everyday thing.
mass.
Well,
Yeah.
Elon Musk wants to do tunnels instead of flying cars. He wants
Yeah.
to just. I think he's already doing it in
The
some
bo-
places.
he has a boring
The
company.
boring company.
Yeah.
Just tunnels under everything to kind of reduce
He,
traffic. instead
he
of
did that
flying
in
cars.
Vegas.
But like, there's already a
Yeah, so,
is it
like-
a usable tunnel already.
So I know that for the convention center in Vegas, he has a tunnel, and actually in the tunnel there's Teslas that transport you back and forth.
He had a great point with that.
Holy
though.
shit!
Yeah.
It's like we only have a certain amount of airspace,
Yeah,
but he's like, people aren't considering like how much deeper we can go.
Well, to be fair though, we have a lot of fucking airspace because you have flight levels. And flight levels can be, if you wanted to be safe, and you can do 500 feet. So you can do, let's say if you want to start at 5,000, 5,500, 6,000, 6,500.
Yeah.
There's a lot of airspace because commercial jets are flying 30,000 feet plus. And once you hit about 15,000 feet, you got to have a pressurized vessel because of oxygen issues.
Yep.
So you could do 10,000 to 15,000. That would give you, if you do 500 feet in between, that would give you 10? That would give you 10 flight levels. And then you can have lanes within those. But it would take a lot of fucking training and everything like that. Because I mean, over by like smaller airports and like, for example, like Orlando Executive, that's a pretty big airport and it's near Bravo Airspace. But Bravo Airspace doesn't start until I think like 12,000 feet or something like that for that. Which Bravo Airspace is like the way the commercial jets are taking off and flying and landing, like the big heavy jets. But there's a lot of fucking traffic that goes in and out of that area because you have the heavy jets, you have this private jets, you have also all the small people training and everything like that. So it already happens. It's going to be like, it would take a lot of training and knowledge for the average day individual to be able to implement that to their life.
Oh yeah, there will probably be like strenuous tests and stuff
Oh, there
you
are
have to go through
yeah.
to be able to do it.
Because you would have to bare minimum get a pilot's license, bare minimum, and that's already they're already pretty thorough.
That's
with
not
that.
ready for the masses.
No, I would be scared for it to be in the masses. But you know what, like that's one thing I love about like the aviation industry is that they're like so freaking strict and like they're so like there's a word for it. I can't remember the name of it, but like they're just over protective.
They need to be, because every time
Absolutely.
you get in an airplane, you're like, these motherfuckers better be ready, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It feels like you're risking your life every time you go on a flight.
And I actually just got my first class medical for my pilot stuff, and it's crazy because if you're basically on ADHD meds, if you've done any type of like psychological medications like that, it's almost impossible to become a commercial pilot.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's insane.
But that's probably why it's like the ease of doing like tunnels for Elon is probably like, this is probably
He's still driving.
This is probably the best way to do it for the masses.
Yep. And one of the cool things about the boring company, I don't know if you know, a little fun fact about them is they actually take the dirt that they take from boring the holes and they recycle it and they make actually a cheaper, stronger brick.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
wow.
so they actually take the dirt and they do like a process. I forgot what it is. I know it's like, I don't know if they add chemicals, water or whatever, but they do it and they do like a heat treatment process. It's faster, it's way significantly cheaper, and they're stronger than traditional bricks.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the way he approaches everything with like sustainability in mind and just forward thinking. I mean, he's thinking in terms of way longer time horizons than most business owners and entrepreneurs.
For sure. But also being like as aggressive as those that don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's as aggressive as the motherfucker that could care about the next year.
He's thinking like in those terms, but not just sitting back and thinking about it. He's doing it. He's taking the action.
I saw something where he just bought a community for he's looking to invest into a big ass city for his employees.
Yeah, but I heard that there's a lot of pushback from his employees for that.
Like how?
Like they didn't want to partake in it.
Like, yeah, like I don't want to live there.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that and I heard that a lot of the employees spoke out and said, we don't want to fucking live in a compound created by you.
I wonder if he's providing benefits.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know about
what
y'all
if
seen
it's
that.
cheaper to stay, but it's a nice community? You know,
You
like
could probably do that if you.
that's
built
a
it right.
benefit that a business can provide that not a lot of businesses provide.
I think it'll be a cool thing to have, especially like if you're relocating for work or something like that.
Yeah.
That might be like a really cool factor to have. It's like, hey, we can put you in this place. You can be here however long you want, and if you want to leave, you leave. If not. But you know, Walt Disney tried to do that too, right?
That's Poinciana, right?
No, Celebration.
Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Celebration was created because Walt Disney wanted to do basically an employee housing compound, and the employees were not on board with that either.
But it turned out to be something.
Celebration is beautiful. It's a nice little city and everything like that. It's fucking expensive.
I always heard the inception of Poinciana was that, where it's like, and it was more for like the cheap labor. So it was like any cheap labor. That's why Poinciana is full of like, you know, I'm not gonna say it, Puerto Ricans, whatever the case is. But it's like at the inception, like you talk about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or whatever the case is, Poinciana, that was initially a space designed for cheap labor, people to live close to work.
Point Siena 20 plus years ago was for a bunch of country rednecks. Everybody out there was just riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers through all the trails and everything. Everything was dirt. There was no concrete roads.
Yeah.
Because my stepfather moved out there almost 30 years ago.
Right.
And everything out there was dirt roads. It was a bunch of country motherfuckers that would just go and work their job. They wanted to live away from everybody else. They would come out there, party, have bonfires, get fucking drunk, and fucking ride four-wheelers through everywhere, dirt bikes and shit.
Sounds
That's what
fun.
it was. That's what it was. But maybe that's what it basically exceptionalized into, was because people eventually started going over there because they can get land for so cheap and shit like that. That's probably what it definitely ended up building up to. It makes sense though, because it's right in the outskirts of Disney. It's like far away enough that it's cheaper.
What's another one, bro?
I think Disney's building
go.
a new campus in Lake Nona. Have you guys heard about that? You guys been in that area? It's really nice. It's like, it's very spacious. And
What's the campus for?
like new headquarters. Yeah, like they're moving their headquarters, I heard, from California to Lake Nona.
Man,
like the main headquarters.
Even fucking Disney is leaving fucking California now.
Mm-hmm.
But Disney,
Did you guys hear? Sorry to cut you off, but did you guys hear that California ran out of U-Hauls the other day?
No, that's crazy.
People are leaving so much.
Kinda
There's
hilarious,
a bunch of news articles. I saw like 4 different ones where it was like U-Haul. Basically, California ran out of U-Hauls because people are leaving at such massive numbers that they're not getting U-Hauls back there.
Wow.
Where are people going now though? Like before, when it was
Here.
COVID, it was
Florida.
obvious. But these days, I don't know if you guys saw that Desantis shit that's been going on.
With what?
So like, even when we're talking about Disney or whatever, he's going. I think he's trying to make pushes to control Disney, right? Because Disney
You talking about the dissolving the government?
Well, no, I don't know what I'm talking
self-governing
about.
Power?
Let me preface this with I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just saw a
Let's
lot.
preface everything with that.
Yeah, zero idea of what the hell I'm talking about. But it was there was something about I forgot what, because he's got all this education shit going on right now that's going viral, right?
Yeah, the whole "Don't Say Gay" bill or whatever.
And like all the
That happened months ago.
Well, it's publicity now or whatever. But he's also going after, not going after, I don't want to say, but like trying to get that control of Disney, because up until now, in
the self-governing power, they have self-governing power, and he's trying to take that self-governing power.
Universal has that too, right? Like they have this real estate or whatever the case is.
No, so it's kind of, but Disney's is way different. So Disney has their own fire department.
Yeah.
They have their own construction companies and everything. Universal, all they have is just security. They have their landscape crew. They don't have their own fire department, because so how it works is that Disney has their own government. There's their self-government entity, and it's called Reedy Creek. That's their self-governing entity. And what happened with the whole Ron DeSantis thing is Ron DeSantis passed a bill, and there was a bunch of different things inside of it. It also, in that bill, it included getting rid of Common Core. But one of the things that's created a lot of outrage is what people are quote unquote saying is the "Don't Say Gay" bill. And what that included, it was that he said that in public schools, you cannot talk to a child about sexuality, anything sexual, changing sexual genders, like what genders exist or anything like that. You cannot talk to any child about any of that from 3rd grade or under. 4th grade and up, you could talk to them about that. But 3rd grade and under, you can't talk nothing about sexual anything, genders, or nothing like that. And so people said it was a "Don't Say Gay" bill because they're like, oh, you can't talk about changing genders or whatever until the 4th grade, blah, blah. That's what created that.
Crazy. I don't know.
I agree. I think 3rd grade and under, I think that you shouldn't really talk to children about anything sexual in 3rd grade and under.
Just SpongeBob.
But, yeah, exactly. But whatever. And so that happened.
My education was built on SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It turned out okay.
And then that happened. And then what happened was Disney had, after that bill was passed, Disney had an all hands on deck meeting. And it included the executive producer for films and all the cinema stuff for Disney. And somebody actually leaked that employee meeting. They recorded the Zoom call and leaked it. And the executive producer lady, I forgot her name now. I saw the video, and I'll pull it up for you guys. And I'll drop it, and I'll insert it right here so you guys can watch it. But anyways, in that clip, she basically brags about, quote unquote, literally quote unquote, inserting queerness anywhere I can and nobody will stop me. Or nobody is stopping me, she said. And she basically bragged about how she's inserting a bunch of like queer stuff into the Disney movies. And basically she was bragging about it because DeSantis did like the "Don't Say Gay" thing. And she's like, that's fine. We're going to insert it in our movies. So they're going to see it anyways.
Right.
And that created a lot of backlash to Disney.
This is another example of like, you got to have balance and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go to one extreme or the other.
Yeah. So,
Wait. Let me take a piss, bro.
Oh my God.
You got it.
I know, bro. It's Brody's fault. He brought it.
all right. So yeah, since Cruz had to take a piss. Anyways, but yeah, so that whole thing happened with that whole video and clip or whatever. And then DeSantis obviously didn't like it because they're pretty much trying to shit on him or whatever. And so he kind of came back and said, oh, okay, you guys want to be like this? I'm taking away your self-governing power.
Well,
and
he didn't try. He's trying.
Yeah, he was trying to. So he was just trying to be petty about it, trying to like show he's like the bigger boss, whatever. But that whole thing started. The last update I heard about that was that he was actually pushing for it. He was in the process of doing it all. And he found out that Disney's government, Reedy Creek, has they owe over $2 billion in bonds. So in order for DeSantis to dissolve their government, he would have to pay off or take over those $2 billion in bonds. So he kind of went to like the citizens, the Floridians, and said, what do you guys think about taking over Disney, but then we pay off their... People were like, fuck no, we're not paying Disney's $2 billion bonds off.
What an odd thing where them having so much debt works out so much in their favor.
Yeah, so the last that I heard, Desantis
that just
pretty much dropped it.
Incentivizes them to take on more debt.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, okay, you don't want to take on that much? How about we get more extreme and take on more debt?
So the last that I heard that DeSantis was basically like, okay, we're not going to take on their debt. Okay, that's that. But I don't know if anything has conceptualized.
The thing I like
since
about him, like whatever your politics is, I think he does do a really good job of listening to the people. Mm-hmm. I actually heard that feedback about someone that met him. They told me like they met him at like a golf tournament or something, and he was there like without any kind of crew or posse. I think this was like before he got elected governor, so this was a couple years back. But he was like at the golf tournament, and he was just talking to people without any kind of crew with him, trying to be like as hard for him now that he's governor, but
as human as possible.
He was trying to be like as anonymous as possible and just get feedback about different issues and kind of like listen to the issues. So I like that about him. Yeah, at the least.
I think he's done a lot of good. I haven't really, unless something different has changed about the whole Disney thing. His bill that he passed, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. I love that he got rid of Common Core. I always had a problem with Common Core. And he actually made it. He also made it a requirement in order for you to graduate, you have to take a finance class.
I heard about that. Basic finance class. Like that too.
So yeah, he did implement that.
That's a huge complaint people have about coming out of high school is that they just don't feel well equipped to manage their personal finances. Yeah, I think that's very well reflected in many issues.
And that's what's hard about politics is like somebody could do some things that you agree with and then some things that you don't agree with, and that's like everybody, man. Yeah, because I don't know what. I don't know if it's part of that bill or whatnot, but like TikTok, like there's a lot of social media craze about like all the Black history that they're trying to take out as well and stuff like that, and just the touching of the curriculum and then supplementing it with funding of other like it looks like part of I don't know if it's that same bill, but part of it is also like they're trying to switch more from public to private schooling and stuff like that. And they're doing that by funding private schooling things and then defunding other things. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know what the motive is in that. And I'm sure it does. Like, there's a lot of people's needs or whatever. Like, I'm sure a lot of people do want that, but then it does come off really wrong. And that's what I hate about this shit too. Because like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, we could talk about politics, and I would have been a lot more on DeSantis, right? Like a lot more pro. But recently, he's just been implementing some shit that I just like. It's not helping me, I know for sure, and it's just creating craze a little bit. Like I think this coming Tuesday, we're recording this on the March 12th. I think on the 14th or 15th or something, there's like this planned protest where all the students are walking out and stuff like that, and it's in a protest against them touching their curriculums and defunding a lot of the public stuff so the private stuff could get a little more funding. But then like we're already like, you know,
what was he going to defund on the public side?
It was like restricting the core, right? So like a lot of books or whatever these teachers already have, they can no longer do. And then also putting more on grants for private schooling. Like more government
I'll look into that.
support.
I know a few teachers, and I haven't heard anything from them or anything like that. So I'm curious.
You should check my girl's TikTok, bro. That's why that shit's dangerous.
Yeah, but a lot of that
shit is not real. Like it is. Some of it is. Whatever the case is. Either way, we're not well versed enough to get too deep into it. But I
am very lacking in this subject matter.
I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't even heard nobody even complain about any of that.
I have a question, and this is not like me advocating for this, but I just have a question. What do you guys think would happen if local government just all of a sudden like flipped a switch and decided to pool all of their resources into making incredibly, incredibly accessible surveys on every possible decision that could be made that you could possibly think of and made them incredibly localized, and citizens just completed the surveys and decisions were made based on the survey results.
Yeah, dude.
I think that would be great, but I think that it would also have to be. I think there should be a requirement to.
Who can take it?
No. I think everybody. I think everybody should be open to take it, but I think it should be a requirement that you actually, whether they send out pamphlets or whatever it is, make sure you actually have knowledge. No, I'm saying make sure you have knowledge, because a lot of people make decisions based off of he said, she said, and what they are fed through their social media, and they don't actually go and look up a lot of the information of their own. Like for example, that bill, I read through the bill, and I didn't read every single line, but I would probably say 40% of that bill.
Here's an idea. So the survey comes out, right? You've got a question on X topic. There's an embedded video, 2-3 minute video, something fairly short, but short enough to be manageable to watch, but without being overwhelmingly long and complicated. Something that gives you a brief overview of like what's being talked about. Video is so easy for everyone. Like anyone can watch video and watch about what's being talked about. You have to watch the video and get through it to be able to take the survey. You get like 2 questions that you have to answer to prove that you like took in the video content properly. Once you answer the 2 questions, you get to take the survey.
I think that would work, but one thing I would be fearful of is biasness of the video, and that's from both sides. Like, you know, if like
it's impossible to combat.
Exactly, like that's no matter both sides, because I know that there's biased stuff on both sides of the spectrum. And I can
maybe you have to watch a left side put out video and a right side.
Yeah, like they kind of they kind of like do like their thing, and you make your own conclusion. Now that could work. Side. I think it would just be great if people can just put the details in plain black and white and no opinions created. And you kind of form yourself like, okay, this is what's going to happen. We are going to do this. We are going to do this. We are not going to do that. We are not going to do this. This is where we're going to allocate funds. This is where we're not going to allocate funds. Make your decision.
It's so hard. I mean, like, I'm sure you guys have dealt with this before too. Like when I go in to vote, like, and there's all these different like little like amendments and things to vote on. Like, I try to do like a little research real quick on my phone, and it's hard to even get like. You can't really get an objective opinion just like doing research.
That's why they give you sample ballots.
Yeah.
Whenever I get my sample ballot, I go through my sample ballot, pre-fill everything, do my research, so I take my time on it, and then whenever I go, I take my sample ballot with me or take a picture of it, and then I pre-fill it out. Then
my thing is like we've talked about this before, right? Like we've talked about different ways of going about this, whatever, but you can't get around like, and it's one of the faults of democracy. And because like no idea is perfect. Democracy is an idea, right? And it's a great idea
with
like,
flaws.
Here's the flaws: like not everybody is well versed enough to vote, but we want everybody to vote.
I think
like that's one thing, but like you can't have one without the other. Like if you want everybody to have an opinion and vote on whoever is the leader of your city, of your state, of your country, or whatever, you're also going to get people that aren't qualified to vote. I don't know how else to put it. You know?
If you only take the opinion of the people that are qualified enough to vote, who's determining who's qualified enough, and are you leaving out a massive portion of opinion if you set a qualification minimum? It's very difficult.
That's what I think that like the perfect balance to have is everybody just a little bit pissed off.
Yep. Yeah.
Because it's impossible to make everybody happy. And if everybody's just a little bit pissed off, then it's like, damn, I'm doing a fucking great fucking job right now. Because if you have some people that are happy, some people that are not, that's an issue. But everybody needs to be a little bit pissed off.
Yep.
I agree.
That's like the
biggest issue I have with politics, and the reason I hate politics is like the system seems very set up to polarize in one direction or the other. It's like you have great success as a politician by like really leaning into one base, like one side, and like really capturing that base and that side while it happens to be the majority. We
actually spoke about this a little bit on the West Side when we were on it, and I'll bring this up for our listeners too. But I agree, and one of the things I think is the biggest issue with the United States is that are you Republican? Are you Democratic? It's like there's no middleman, and even though there is middle. They get like 1% vote. I think the highest has ever got was like 1.7% for presidential.
So it's not even realistic to have that.
Exactly. But like I brought up, like, so my girl is from Colombia. And in Colombia, they have so many different political parties. They have like anti-guerrilla political party. They have anti-corrupt government political party. They have anti-warfare political party. They have like so many different political parties. And everybody basically has, every politician essentially almost has like their own political party. And then like they push for that political agenda. And they have their own ideologies, what they believe in, and there is no left right. It is just everybody has their ideologies, and you vote for the person that you think you align with most. And the problem is that like I had stated, like there's a lot of Republicans that might be, dang, it's okay. Oh, no. There's a lot of Republicans that might be like pro-choice, but they know they cannot ever agree with pro-choice because as soon as a Republican agrees pro-choice, they automatically basically
lose a ton of their base.
They get they get basically canceled by the Republican culture.
They're not going to get funding. They're not going to get support.
Exactly. And there are some Democrats that vice versa are pro-life, and they can never ever go that way because they're going to get so much backlash for it. Mm-hmm. And it's like you have to go down the road, and a lot of these politicians don't even believe what they're pushing for because
therein lies the massive issue is that the incentive is for them to figure out how to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to do what's best for the people.
It's a popularity contest.
1,000%.
It's figuring out how to win a game that's been very well outlined.
For me, it's impossible to understand the true intentions of a lot of these things going on. Because there's lobbying, there's this, there's that. What Zach was talking about, even like Desantis has been somebody I fucked with for a little bit, right? But like even now I'm like, all right, are some of these things you're pushing recently, for better or worse, whether you agree or disagree, is it in preparation for the presidential election so you could carve out some of who your competitor is going to be, which is literally he's competing against Trump. So he's like, what can I push out now that could carve out some of the Trump supporters so when we do this, is it GOP elections or whatever, like when it's like the Republican elections or whatever, like is he just trying to beat him? And how do I get a chunk of his supporters?
Is DeSantis planning on running for president?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Is he?
Probably, most likely, to take a cynical approach, probably how can I make a splash with a particular issue that, whether it has good long-term effects or not, is going to have a lot of popularity short-term.
I think if DeSantis trying to run for president, if what you were saying is true about the whole stuff that's been going on TikTok, I think he just kind of fucked himself.
He could have, because he was the middle. He was the closest to the middle there was.
And the reason why is because Republicans loved the DeSantis through COVID, what he did for COVID for Florida. Republicans loved the fuck out of him for that. And a lot of Democrats
liked him for other reasons.
And a lot of Democrats did like him for other reasons, but it was also like, you know what? A lot of Democrats, a lot of people, I want to say Democrats, but a lot of people in a general sense.
Extreme.
He
really wasn't extreme.
But a lot of people in a general sense, I don't want to say Democrats, but a lot of people in a general sense, I know they share a lot of ideologies that Trump had financially or whatever, how the government, how the United States should be structured. But a lot of their argument was, he says racist things. He says stupid shit. He can't keep his mouth quiet. And it was like, here's DeSantis that has a lot of those ideologies and keeps his fucking mouth shut. So a lot of them are like, he's fucking great. Mm-hmm. And then now of what you're saying about everything, because I don't know, I haven't even heard anything.
Because he might be showing
just fuck
what
himself.
You can't do though. Because he's showing like, yeah, cool. Like I got to be in the middle if I want to win the ultimate presidential election, but I can't be in the middle if I want to beat the top two guys on our party.
But you know what?
You know what I mean? Like in our party, if I need to win this Republican nomination to be a president, I got to win that.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. I think he could have beat Trump. I think he could, and the reason why, because
just without some of the extra stuff.
I think he would have, because I speak to a lot of people, and there are a lot of people. Like for example, I tend to lead to a lot of things that Trump ideologies, but I wish he would just shut the fuck up.
He says some stupid shit.
Exactly, and my thing is, it's like
a jackass.
It's like if you would just shut up and you would have just pushed the things that you did, it would have been fucking amazing. You would have crushed it, and I would have easily voted for DeSantis over Trump. And I know a lot of people that would have. And what's going to be the other side? Biden? I know hella people that ain't going to vote for Biden again. A lot of people that I speak to that voted for Biden, they regret the shit out of it.
Is he running again?
I don't know. I don't know.
DeSantis is probably thinking all I have to do is beat Trump, and then like this could be. It could be like I'm in the middle enough. We're getting way too political.
No, but
how did this happen?
Way too.
But no,
political.
but I'm just saying. I just want to say this one thing. But if that's what he said, if that's how he thought about it, I think he fucked up. Mm-hmm. Because I think that he already had Trump beat. He might have not got 100% of the Trumpers, whatever you want to call them. But I think that the Trumpers, whatever they call it. But I think he would have got a vast majority of them, and then he would have pulled just enough from the right side, and he would have smoked Trump, I think.
We'll see. What's some other shit we got, Brody?
The Silicon Valley thing.
Let's do that.
Yeah, so the Silicon Valley Bank just failed. This is a bank that I think I looked into. I think it started in like the early 90s, and it's been like the predominant bank for like largely venture-backed startups. And it just failed very recently, and it's the biggest bank failure since 2008.
Do you know what caused the failure?
I'm going to preface this again with I don't know what I'm talking about.
Woo! That's the name of the episode.
Yeah. We have no idea what we're talking about. But as I understand it, my like very base view from the research I have done is that there's like kind of a system that banks use where they take your money, right? They're holding onto your money, and they will loan out a portion of your money to really like incentivize other things and make money on that money to like grow their money.
And they give you an interest back.
Yeah. So that's kind of what they were doing. But what happened is they were doing that like any other bank would. But what happened is there was like just some things that kind of sparked like a couple little like things that they didn't make, like as far as like their revenue and their growth, they like missed some things, and it caused like a little bit of like a stir with some of their companies that were doing banking with them. And so a couple founders started like wanting to pull their money out and put it in other places. And then that immediately just caused a panic, and all of a sudden like everyone started pulling their money out. And because they're doing that strategy like any other bank would, it's not like if the three of us are like the only ones that have money in their bank, right? And we have collectively $100,000 in their bank. It's not like they have that $100,000
in liquid assets
at any given time.
Yeah.
So if there's a mass rush to pull your money out, they don't actually have that money. Mm-mm. So they were like, all these people were trying to pull their money out at once. And they couldn't.
And it created more uproar.
Creates even more panic, and more people try to pull it out.
Oof.
So then the bank just failed. And at that point, they have to try to get funding from somewhere that believes in whatever they're doing to try to cover all that, like those withdrawal requests. And they just couldn't get funding.
That's how they feel. They
just collapsed. And so now all these like massive startups are going to fail because they just won't be able to make payroll because their money's just not there.
Ooh, that's big.
Insane.
And I had talked about it off the air, but I saw that Elon Musk was kind of spitballing the idea of buying the Silicon Valley bank, and basically like a lot of.
Why is this motherfucker like in everything? God,
because man, he's trying to become a powerhouse, man. I think he is the wealthiest person in the United States. I don't know.
It's not Jeff Bezos.
I think he might have been passed recently. I know very recently.
I know he passed Jeff Bezos a few months ago, but I don't have it checked.
I think very recently he got passed by the guy that started like Louis Vuitton and a bunch of other brands.
Okay. But anyways, he's second biggest in the world then.
Yeah, that might have changed since.
What a loser.
But either way, he's top three. So I mean, he has a lot of influence, and he's kind of like he's bold. He's not scared to take some risks. But yeah, he was talking about spitballing about buying it, and basically his investors, like the Tesla investors, were like, "No, the fuck you're not." Because with the whole Twitter thing, for him to buy Twitter, he ended up selling, I forgot what the total amount was, but he sold billions and billions of dollars of Tesla stock in order to be able to fund the whole Twitter thing. And a lot of his investors didn't like that because obviously it caused the stock to drop a little bit. But anyways, they told him basically, no, the fuck, you're not buying Silicon Valley because you're not going to take $20 billion from Tesla.
You can't do everything, bro. That's what they're trying to tell him.
Man.
He's become such a personality that him taking him taking big financial moves like that can cause mass panic for that. Like if he starts selling off Tesla stock, everyone's going to start selling off Tesla stock and it's going to tank.
Because he's not dealing with anything.
Him just saying he was going to take it public at 420 or whatever, that thing that he did on the Joe Rogan podcast, made it freaking tank.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say, though, if he gets involved in the Silicon Valley banking, his fingers, his roots are going to be able to grow like fucking fire, bro. Because he can easily, any idea that he has, he'll just fucking pull from the Silicon Valley Bank and invest into his shit. And he'll have an exponential amount of fucking money to be able to throw around at his ideas. Whether that's going to be good or bad, I mean, who knows? But I mean, he's kind of proved to be profitable.
Do you think that people will have any faith in the Silicon Valley Bank, though, after this whole thing? I feel like
there's going to be a new regime. There's going to be a change, right? Just like the housing market. Like, I'm paying mortgage insurance for no reason now because of the 2008 crisis or whatever the case is, right? So if you can't put down a certain amount, you're paying interest on no matter what or whatever. You have to pay an insurance. They're going to revitalize that Silicon Valley banking scheme or whatever the case is. So, like, some of the big...
probably just needs a new name, and it'll be out of the news cycle with a new name.
But, like,
I think as soon as they put, like, a new name, I think putting...
Banks are going to cover their ass, though. Those are the biggest checks and balance motherfuckers there is.
Here's a really big thing about it. So, when all the banks failed before, we got, as a result of that, FDIC insurance. Like...
Right.
But they only cover like what, 250,000, right?
This is the thing. So FDIC up to $250,000 is FDIC insured. Something like 90.
What is that for those that?
I forget what FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance, something I want to say. It essentially just means like if your bank fails, up to $250,000 is guaranteed and protected by the government. So if you have $249,999 in this bank and it completely fails and they don't have that money for you to go take, you can get it from the government because it's insured. So that is the case with Silicon Valley Bank like any other, but something like, because it's like these like massive venture-backed startups with like millions and millions of dollars, something like 97% of the wealth that was in that bank is not FDIC insured.
Yeah.
So the very, very large predominant amount of money that these companies had, like there could be companies with like millions of dollars in payroll costs every month that all of a sudden just have 250 grand in their bank account and have like huge payroll costs to meet that like they might not even be able to meet a week of payroll now.
No, probably not even in a day. For a lot of these big companies, $250K is daily expensive.
If they happen to not be cash flow positive right now, too, they're just fucked. They're going to fail. Yeah, they're going to not meet payroll. People are going to quit.
I love that though because it exposes that there was somewhat of a bubble in this Silicon Valley.
It's a perfect segue to talk about a point I wanted to make about this. There's a lot of like sexiness around startup culture, and I think for good reason. Like you can really make huge impacts with stuff like Uber, like that took massive debt on the front end to like make this huge change, and I love that, and I hope stuff like that continues to happen. But it got so sexy for so long that like people thought that was just the model. Like
that's how you do it. Yeah, Amazon kind of did it for a long time, right? Yeah, which is like the best.
Personally, my business has succeeded by completely bootstrapping. We've never taken like all of us partners put in a little bit of money at the beginning to just get stuff started, and you kind of have to do that in any business unless you have some like unicorn circumstance. But really, you're much better served, especially without a ton of experience, by just bootstrapping it and like growing the business without paying yourself at first. Like me and one of my partners didn't pay ourselves for the first year and a half. Yeah, we were like doing other stuff. Like you gotta get the business like secure enough to take money out of it.
The real foundation. Not just the sexiness of just a venture capitalist coming in, funding everything, making the world, funding
everything on the promise that no issues are going to happen like this, and your idea is good enough to get it to that point.
Yeah, I was going to add that like this also kind of shows that like companies that because you know, like a lot of TikTokers, I see like a bunch of fucking entrepreneur videos, and they're always like, you need to take out a loan and da 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 da. And this kind of just shows that being in debt can really fuck you.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to
Unless
add,
you're Disney.
one thing,
That is highly to your benefit.
yeah. One thing I will want to add to this though is like, who's to say all those companies were in debt, because that was money that they had in the bank.
Yeah.
So like, it wasn't like it was like a loan that they got fucking defaulted on or something like that. It was literally their cash, their liquid cash that they had, that their liquid asset that they had available that just got fucking ripped from them.
But
I
it
guess
sounds
the
like
real-
due to the model that has been going on
Yeah.
so much.
No, yeah, of course.
Right? Due to the investment of false or good dreams, and then
It's like a large projection of the bigger issue, I guess.
Yeah. And it's kind of,
those motherfuckers.
You do
got
have a
some-
point, though. It's so fucked up that this happened to these guys.
because it's their
so
liquid,
fucked
man.
up.
It's liquid, bro.
Yeah.
And it's going to suck because like they're going to have to try to get either, we're going to have to see government bailouts. That's what probably be like one of the biggest things that we're going to have to try to
which
see.
is only going to happen to the top.
Yeah.
Only going to help the top. those
Exactly.
that
We're going to have to see some type of government bailouts, I'm imagining. And honestly, the amount of money that we've given to Ukraine probably could have bailed out this whole fucking Silicon Valley thing, but that's a whole nother conversation. Anyways,
Back to the
Jeez, Zach,
political.
we're trying to. Zach can't help it, boy.
no, fuck that, bro. No, hold on, I'm gonna go on a rant real fast. How does the United States announce that we're out of money, and then 2 months later they fucking give $8 billion to Ukraine?
It's the presidential election.
Come on, bro. When you ran,
Very good printers.
yeah, fucking for real. Anyways, back to Silicon Valley. I want to get off my chest. Anyways, but no, they're going to have to see bailouts, or those companies are going to have to go and get loans, and it's going to be hard to get loans like that with no type of liquid cash assets, because a lot of times companies will be like, okay, we're going to go take out a $2 million loan, and they have $3.5 million sitting in the bank, but they don't want to destroy $2 million of their liquid assets so they can pull the loan. It's going to be hard to recover from that, man.
You know, like, hot take here, I think what probably will happen is very, very wealthy people are going to just start acquiring these companies like crazy because they have the hard assets to be able to.
But it's
and
like
they're
a
going to
correction.
acquire them like way cheap because
Yeah.
what other option do they have?
That's true. Yeah,
They're going to acquire them at a price that they would never sell at.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
They have no other option.
So it's almost like just like similar to the 2008 crash. Like you said, this was like one of the biggest crashes.
the biggest since the 2008 crisis.
So it's like the initial impact was a crash, but overall it was a correction, right? Because there was some shit going on that was overvaluing or letting people just buy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Silicon
crash in the
Valley-
micro, correction in the macro.
Right, right,
So Silicon Valley probably has.
right.
I would be interested to see how much assets they have in terms of what they owe. The problem is liquidating those assets. You know what I mean? And I would love to see the percentage of like, do they have 80% of assets to what they owe or whatever it is? I would like to be able to see that.
Here's another really fucked up thing about it that I forgot to mention. Right before they actually like officially failed and crashed, there was like many bonuses given to employees of the bank.
Oh, really?
They just gave like massive bonuses because they saw the writing on the wall. They're like, we're about to fail, so
Take it.
everyone take the money and run.
Ooh, that sounds like charges in court.
Lawsuits. I
That
think
sounds
so.
like court
It
suings
does.
happening.
Well,
I think there
I
will be a
mean-
lot. Yeah.
It's just
It's gonna be
But-
SBF all over again,
by
basically.
by these massive companies that have, but these massive companies that have massive capital, I think the ones that can like get some capital backing really quick in some other way are gonna go after that really hard.
well, it could be. It
Those
could
employees are gonna get fucked.
like we talked about. It's a crash in the micro. It's a correction in the macro, right?
Yeah.
We might see because companies like Facebook, Google, a lot like the core of that Silicon Valley business or whatever the case is. Like Facebook changed everything because they were just like, how do you quantify what this is? Mm-hmm. And because people missed that and it became what it was, it became this sexy Silicon Valley venture capitalist, like whatever the case is. But this crash could become a correction in how we evaluate those companies, right? Like Facebook, Google, a lot of those places. We just talked about AI Bard for Google on one of our episodes dropped the Google stock like 110 billion. You know, and it's like, how does, whoa, you know, like what's the metric for these?
Be those massive swings? It's you're right. It's because they're like massively overvalued to begin with. Like,
Or
they have these multipliers that like increase their valuation that the average company would never have.
Because there's so much based on potential. There's so much based on like, what if you get to this amount of active users, you get this amount of data, or if you get this amount of active search engine, you know, entries or whatever, you get this amount of data, and there's value in that. Or here's the opportunity for advertisement, stuff like that. Like Facebook did show, like, first of all, I don't want to say like there's definitely a bubble, there's definitely a misconception, there's definitely something we got to tighten up. But Facebook did show where the value is in something that people didn't know there was value in, right? Like it showed, look what I can make money off of with advertisements with this amount of active users. Look at the amount of money I can make with this or that with this amount of active users. So it's like skyrocket. And then now we're in this bubble, which we're probably seeing the pop of with that bank collapsing.
Kind of crazy to think about.
So it's kind of like, are they going to tighten up how they evaluate companies like this?
I was thinking about this like as I was doing my like prep to talk about this. I wonder if this is like, I feel like this is going to be a bubble that pops that doesn't necessarily affect the general public like 2007, 2008 did. You know what I mean? Like
I'm fucking eating shit because of that pop.
I would be interested to see what companies ate the most shit on this. I would like to see which companies.
I know one example I saw is that, are you guys familiar with Etsy?
Yeah, I know Etsy.
Etsy is delaying payments to sellers on Etsy because of this.
That right there is huge.
That's the common person.
That's huge for
so to a degree,
individual
it is it might really shake up like
more than you think.
Yeah,
that's massive because there's a lot of small businesses
are built on Etsy.
Yeah, man, that's definitely going to hurt the average day consumer. That right there is definitely. But yeah, that's one. That's what I was saying. I'd be interested to see what companies are going to be affected by this. At least it's only a week.
When did this happen?
Like a couple days ago.
Ooh, so
like
we're gonna
3-4
perfect timing for this episode to drop.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna be right on point with the tabloids.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, and it's also interesting to add too because with the whole FTX thing that just recently happened, a lot of people's comments were like, "This is why I don't fuck with cryptocurrency." And it's like, what about this, buddy?
Yeah,
right here. This is fucking hard cash US dollar.
Should we all buy a bunch of crypto before we release this episode?
only if we had Elon on here saying what I just said.
And these are the only benefits of being late.
Oh shit! If Elon bought,
I'm just saying, like he was talking about buying the bank. Now
he would probably make it like backed by crypto.
But it's so much.
He would do some crazy shit like that.
But it's so much more viable of an investment at this point. Because it's like bottomed out or whatever the case is hitting the shit. It's like same thing with the 2008, 2007 housing market crash. That's when the big, like, those that weren't so involved in Florida or whatever the case is specifically, they bought massive amounts of real estate at that point. Because now it's like what people were buying at $200 is now $60,000, $80,000. Like, and they made their business off that. Like that was their biggest triumph right there. And
recessions and bubble pops are like some among the best times of opportunity if you're smart about it. Like there's so much opportunity. Because
I'll plug you guys into something new with real estate. That's going to be huge. But I'll plug you guys in afterwards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna be millionaires. No, but it goes to show because that's a fucking awesome point. Because I started like. I think it was like a year or so ago when like Robinhood and all these other like investment platforms started getting really big, right? Like GameStop, like all this shit. Like it became like more usual that somebody was on one of these investment apps, right? And I was doing it like a year ago, and I was trying to do research. I was just being me or whatever, and then I couldn't help but to look at like, damn, all these stocks I'm investing in. I started looking back like during COVID. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, if I would have just invested in anything during COVID, Like fucking anything.
At the beginning of COVID.
If I would have invested in
God.
anything during COVID, like
I made out with a
literally
couple of
toilet
companies.
paper. You know what I mean? Like if I would have invested in any of these companies during COVID, I'd be up 50%.
And then sold at the peak.
More than that.
More than that.
Well, ideally you sell the pill. I got
4 or 5.
I got in with
That's
I got in
a
with
lot of-
Uber for really, really low, and I made out really well with that. But the thing was, is that like I was looking at these companies whenever COVID was first starting. I was like, these companies are at 5-year lows. Uber ain't going nowhere because everybody was ordering Uber Eats and shit like that. That's why I invested in that. But there was a lot of everybody fucking dropped so much. I got in with a couple of companies. I just wish I would have had more. I wish I would have invested more.
It's
because
almost
I was
like
really conservative with it, and I
Yeah.
should have.
people
invested
try
more.
to keep their money in times of crisis.
Right.
And it's like
That's why it's a good time to deploy your
That's when
capital
everything's on
and
sale.
work for it. Everything's on sale, yeah.
it's a fucking
buy the
sale,
dips.
man. Like I almost like back when COVID was happening, I was almost hoping for another lockdown. Like I hated it. Like
Yeah.
I was like not like for every other reason I was like not for it. But for that reason, like those lockdowns and shit creates panic. It creates like collapse. It creates this and that. And I was just like, man,
If you could stay calm in the panic and make the right decisions.
that's why those
You-
apps are gonna those apps make money now because the average person can't do that. The average person can't look at something dropping and be like, I'm putting everything into that.
You guys ought to
They
look at
they
how
put
many,
money into this.
You guys should look up how many variants exist of COVID now. I looked it up the other day.
lot, I bet.
There's dozens and dozens and dozens of variants of COVID now. It's like XB-1 now. Like they don't even have fucking names anymore.
I remember it was like the news was keeping track of all of them and it would talk about it every
Yeah.
time. It's probably just got too much.
Bro, it's gotten so many now. I happened to Google it the other day, and oh my god, it was like, I was like, that is ridiculous. I'm like, this is the fucking flu. This is literally a common
yeah.
common flu now. We're just fucking putting names on it now. And shit.
Yeah, motherfuckers have gotten more variants of. They're worried more about variants of COVID than the STDs that they got. I'm sorry.
Which one is it?
I don't know.
No, that was what it was.
All right, motherfuckers are more. I'm just playing.
Anyways,
Nah, man, that is very interesting because I think right now we're seeing the cusp of something different, right? You're seeing like Google, you're seeing a lot of these companies having a big layoffs, big this and that. Part of that might be the market's changing. Part of that could be what this bubble that was forming that we never realized until just now, right? Like the bank, man, it's like, let's see. We got some interesting shit coming up, dude.
We do. We got some action to take based off of this.
Hell yeah, dude. I like that we talked about this now, too, because we're not dropping for another week or so. So
Hit the news cycle.
it'll be fully in by the time this shit drops.
We're going to
bro.
be well deployed, well capitalized.
yeah, we
by
got
then.
3 Mondays. This Monday, Frankie, maybe I can drop this.
Shout out to you, bro. This was one of our longest episodes for a little bit, man.
I love it, man.
This
Thank
was-
you guys again for having me. This has been awesome.
Super insightful, bro. Love having you on, man. We're going to have you on again. I love this shit, bro.
Absolutely.
We didn't even get to everything on the notepad, bro.
That means
Yeah.
we got more for next time.
Exactly.
Yes.
And as always, guys, all of his information will be down in the description below. So go ahead and link up with him. Go check out his podcast. He got some dope stuff too. Good conversations. But yeah, if you guys liked the episode, like, follow, share, subscribe, tell your friends and everybody else.
Tell your brother.
your sister.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Come on, man. Help us get to
Listen.
1,000. Go check out Profession Session. I got this shirt on right now. I didn't even put that plug in. He's got some dope shirts, man.
He looks great in it.
Come on, man. I got the Dunder Mifflin with
Trying
the
to get his nipple hard
Profession
for you guys.
Session. This episode got way more political than I.
That was crazy.
It was good though. It was good.
Bro, we've never gotten this. I like it though.
I think
like
there's like pitchforks and little torches outside right now. We got a lot to deal with.
We didn't even drop it, guys.
Clip it.
Relax.
Clip it. Clip it. Cancel me. I'm playing.
But yeah, bro, thanks for coming on, man. Yo, fuck
Absolutely.
with this shit. Profession Session. You guys got a nice little taste. If you want the whole flavor, go follow his YouTube channel, Profession Session. Follow him on Instagram. Worst case scenario, he's got great clips, great stuff like that. We didn't even get to the podcast expo. My man is implementing everything he's learned. I love this guy.
I seen the
It's-
clip, man.
It's
Thanks,
awesome, dude. It's awesome. It's great stuff. Check
All right,
him out.
guys. Pocket watch out.
Out.